All right. I want to start with my educational philosophy. It's grounded in critical pragmatism and dialogic pedagogy. As a result, I see the world as dynamic, in flux, and I understand knowledge through experience, inquiry, participation, and critical reflection on action to address and solve problems. I value the interdependent coexistence of democracy and education, and I know that it is a fragile, symbiotic relationship, but I also know that when they are inextricably linked, they are a force to be reckoned with. My academic background is quite diverse, and since I will be talking about effective presentation skills, I'd like to get into it. So I started off with a BA in English literature. I then pursued an MA in drama comparative literature, and finally moved on to receive a doctorate in coaching and mentoring in recognition of my thesis, a team coaching model for developing criticality in undergraduate students. I know that our work as educators can be challenging and tiring, but there are times when it is impactful, exhilarating, comforting, and grateful. And if I had the chance to speak to each of you beforehand, I think that most of us would agree that one of our biggest concerns that can discourage us is when we are faced with students whose learning habits prevent them from being and doing the best that they can be. And as I was working on my presentation, I came across a quote that summarizes this concern succinctly, and I want to share it with you. Alvin Toffler, a well-known futurist, once said, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." And what this quote underscores is the necessity of embracing new ideas, adapting our perspectives, and continuously acquiring and applying new knowledge throughout our lives. So how can we learn how to learn? Quite interestingly, it's a matter of reflection. We need to be able to question our personal beliefs and acknowledge also our weaknesses. I can't really see myself that well. I've got people on the slide, so I need to be able to remove this somehow. Can you see me? Probably. So this leads me to this presentation's purpose. How can we instill this adaptive mindset in our students, particularly in their presentation skills? And not astonishingly, 63.9% of college students actually have anxiety when it comes to public speaking. And even though presentations are a common part of college assessments, 89.3% request more classes to improve their skills. Why is that? Why is this the case? I want to leave this question open, and I want to focus instead on what can be done to improve students' presentation skills, which we all recognize as vital for their futures and their careers. Because at the end of the day, we not only care about our students' success, we also want to see them thrive. So let me present to you today's presentation and how I've structured it. I'll be getting into student perceptions and awareness. Then I will be moving on to addressing these challenges and what resources I actually use to demystify these challenges. And then I'll move on to reflections. But my goal, I want you to understand, is to explore the strategies that identify student challenges and address them effectively, thereby enhancing their presentation and delivery skills so they can articulate their ideas with confidence. In other words, I aimed to create a structure that offers valuable insights and some best practices that I use in my own classroom, hoping that it will resonate with your experiences and provide actionable takeaways. So the first section is about student perceptions and awareness. And as an educator for more than 2 decades, I've come to realize that no course material can be meaningful and impactful unless we first give value to our student cohorts' perceptions and awareness of course concepts and assessments. And that is why I utilize the early term feedback. Now, research identifies the value of student feedback, and the ETF, according to a 2023 actually online article, it allows an instructor to engage students, address relevant questions or concerns, and make changes the instructor believes to be valuable based on feedback. This brings a lot of three main benefits that I've identified for the educator. The first one is that it makes the instructor proactive. So instead of making assumptions about student perceptions, by utilizing the ETF, we can learn what our students are concerned about and how they feel. This is valuable in the context of teaching presentation skills. But being proactive is not the only benefit. It also makes us reflective. And working with the premise that less is more, we can guide our reflection by demystifying what resources we have, how effective they have been, when and where we use them, what we need to change, and what we need to focus on to facilitate students in certain areas. So once we've identified these resources, then we actually become solution-oriented. And by doing research and keeping up to date with advancements in presenting, we can revamp, we can add or completely upgrade our material. So I think you can see the value that early term feedback has for us. But it's extremely important not to underestimate also the value it has for students. Because by being the authors of such early term feedback, they also become agents in our decision-making, accountable and reflective. So let me show you a 10 question survey that I created on Mikey Survey. The 5 first questions focus on topic. The other 5 questions focus on awareness and perceptions. The questions used were Likert scale questions, multiple choice questions, and a variation of closed questions. Now, what resulted from this early term feedback were student perceptions of the challenges they face. And this is where we move on to the second section of this presentation, where we will get into the student challenges and also into the strategies that are used to help students demystify these and actually become extremely confident. So the challenges that scored the highest were the following: fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of people, fear of freezing, not knowing how to be extemporaneous, fear of not knowing how to use eye contact, posture, and gestures, fear of having a flat or rhythmic voice, fear of not knowing how to design slides, and fear of not having enough time to prepare and practice. So the first step is to immediately demystify fear. And I use 2 resources here. The first one is the science of stage fright and how to overcome it. It's a very interesting video created by Ted Ed and Michael Cho. From this video, students understand that they're not alone. We all experience fear and anxiety before speaking. They learn that it is a primordial feeling, that it's universal, and that it's part of our DNA, and that the only way to address it is to trick our minds, since it's all about perspective. The second video is Anxious When Presenting by communication coach Dr. Alexandra Lyon. He actually provides insight into specific practical strategies on how to alleviate anxiety. He discusses the importance of preparation, relaxation techniques, and mindset shifts to build confidence. So the first challenge, that of demystifying fear and understanding that it's all about perspective, is addressed in this way. Let's see how the second challenge is to be demystified. And so how do you demystify the perception of not being able to speak extemporaneously? Well, the answer lies in making students aware of what they can do. So first of all, I define what it is to speak extemporaneously. It's a well-prepared speech. It relies on research. It has clear organization and practice delivery. It's neither read nor memorized, and it is natural and conversational. And then I present 2 videos. The first one is Delivery Tip Extemporaneous. This provides tips on delivering extemporaneous presentations, which are planned and rehearsed, but not memorized or read verbatim. Lyon discusses the benefits of this style, such as its conversational nature and flexibility. He offers practical advice on structuring one's speech, staying on topic, and engaging with the audience to maintain a natural flow. The second video, How to Practice a Speech or Presentation, he suggests breaking the presentation into sections, practicing each part thoroughly, and then integrating them into a cohesive whole. Lyon also highlights the value of receiving feedback. So here we have given students hands-on strategies in order to become extemporaneous. And having addressed this, we move on to the third challenge, which is the challenge of eye contact, posture, gestures, and that is where I introduce also voice. So you can see here that I have my main resource is a Prezi presentation within which I have guidelines on how to do worksheet 1 and worksheet 2. And I have 3 main videos as my resources, which will be used by the students. So let's look into worksheet 1. This is where it's divided into 3 parts. The first part identifies areas for improvement. So they have a maybe, yes or no rating on whether they need to improve voice, eye contact, gestures, posture, and extemporaneous speaking. The second part of this worksheet provides them with speech terminology and their definitions, and I ask them to read it to themselves. And the third part is a reflective paragraph on how they will address these areas for improvement after they've assessed the speakers. So we then move on to worksheet 2, which shows the following 3 videos, which students need to assess based on the following criteria: professional appearance, facial expressions, eye contact, gestures, movement, and voice. And also they have a part for every video where they actually state which aspect or quality do they want to take from this video to be able to emulate and use themselves. So we have the first resource, which is a team presentation from the Graduate School of Stanford Business 2014, where students talk about how to make your body language your superpower. This is where they actually get into gestures, they get into posture, what kind of gestures should they use, what to avoid, how to find their posture, which are the do's and don'ts of posture, and also how to ensure that the audience is continuously engaged with your presentation. The second video is Julian Treasure's TED Talk, How to Speak So That People Want to Listen. And the third one is listening to Matthew McConaughey's winning Best Actor speech at the 86th Oscars in 2024. So they're assessing the speakers based on these criteria: appearance, professional appearance, expressions, facial, eye contact, gestures, movement, and voice. Once they've done this and they've written down also what they would like to take from each of these speeches, they actually present them in class. Each student presents it in class. And what's interesting is that the ratings are not similar. They're quite different. And this is a great teaching moment for them to understand that each audience member has their own frame of reference and something that speakers should be aware of. They also present what stood out for them, such as excellent articulation, posture, presence, voice, speaking extemporaneously, storytelling. And once they have done this and they've discussed it in class, we go back to worksheet 1, where they write the reflective paragraph after having assessed the speakers to state how they are thinking of addressing the areas that they have identified for improvement. So this is a quite interesting exercise that is done in class. It's highly meaningful for the students. They really like it, and they learn so much about posture, gestures, voice, and storytelling. We move now on to the next challenge that students have identified, and that is voice. And I also do an introduction to slide design. Now, the focus is on their voice, and I also introduce students to effective visuals. And I have one worksheet that I've separated into 3 parts. So it's mainly 2 pages. So the part A of the worksheet, I have students listen to 2 audio files, speaking clearly, and the next one is presentation skills. They take notes and they answer contextual questions. Then I have them read a paragraph from a transcript from the transcript speaking clearly and record their voice in an MP4 file. I have them then listen to their voice and evaluate their voice based on questions related to rate, whether it was quick or slow, enunciation, audience awareness, rhythm, vocal variety, and pronunciation. Worksheet part B is watching now a video, which is Talks at Google with Gar Reynolds. And they have to take notes and answer contextual questions. They get an understanding of what is good slide design and what are some of the principles that are involved there. The third part of the worksheet is I have a list of criteria of what makes a good and a bad presentation. They tick whichever one they think, and then they also have the option for other to add something of their own. So once this worksheet is completed, students upload the worksheet and the MP4 audio on our LMS, and they're waiting for feedback. Now, we're all aware of the importance of providing timely feedback to our students. And so I've created a model response that has three parts. So the first part, a couple of sentences, I address holistically the worksheet responses, and this needs to be personalized. The second part, I focus on areas of their voice recording, and this, of course, needs to be personalized, one or two sentences. But the third part, which remains actually the same for all students, and where recommended strategies are presented, as well as further video resources. This not only makes the student aware of their good points, but also provides them with practical, easy tips that they can implement themselves. So having addressed, and based on the feedback that I provide them, and usually, not usually, I always actually add, you have what it takes to become a great presenter, and I provide them then these resources. So the fifth challenge that I would like to get into is their fear of whether they'll be able to design good slides. So the main resource that I have here is a PowerPoint presentation, and where they learn, where they, first of all, understand what to avoid in terms of fonts, colors, background, size, and bulleted lists. And the next part actually includes a selection of 4 videos. The first one, Presentations Done by Gar Reynolds, helps them understand the theory behind the principles of slide design. And the next 2 and 3 by Leila Gourani, Top 3 PowerPoint Hacks and 5 PowerPoint Tips for Success, provides them with the latest Microsoft PowerPoint 360 features to use. So this is where they learn alternatives to using bullet points. They learn how to transition, how to use morph transitions, how to compress pictures, how to remove background, how to record your screen. And the 4th video that I have there by Microsoft Education, how to use presentation coaching PowerPoint, provides them also with this tool for them to use to practice their presentations. So after doing this in class, they have an understanding of what it means to design slides, but they always want to see previous student presentations, PowerPoint presentations, which I get permission, of course, and I have them on Blackboard for them to see. So the next, actually the last, which is a very major concern for students, is their fear of finding the time to prepare and practice. Well, this is where I come in. So I prepare stages of work to see and listen to. And by doing this, actually, I'm keeping them on their toes, and I'm keeping them on track. So once they have their topic approved, I look into, I want to see their research. So what kind of research have they done? Even if it's very limited, how are they looking into that research? So I see this. Then on another occasion, I want to listen to the story. What story? I mean, looking at all this research, what kind of a story comes out of it? What are they thinking? How are they thinking of structuring it? And then on another occasion, I want to look at a draft outline. I want to see whether they're following the format that has been given to them, whether they're including parenthetic citations, whether they have a reference slide, how are they thinking of breaking it down. And on another occasion, I see 2 or 3 slides just to see what kind of design they're using, whether the fonts are too small, whether they're using a background that is dark and dark fonts so people can't really see, the audience will not be able to see. And these are done in class, and it usually takes 2 to 4 minutes for every student, and I provide just oral comments. The other challenge that they have finding time to practice, I've come up with a solution. I actually assign a person that presents to them, a person that there will be a presentation buddy, a presenting buddy, actually. And this assists them in many ways because they'll be able to practice it to them, but I also remind them that they can use the presenter coach. So these are the 6 challenges that students fear the most. And so I think it's important to wrap it up a little bit for you to provide a summary. In addressing these challenges, it's crucial because we help our students become confident and effective speakers when we do so. And by leveraging resources such as early term feedback, targeted video content, and structured exercises, we can ultimately create an environment that not only demystifies these common fears, but also provides practical strategies for improvement. Ultimately, by addressing these student challenges head on and improving the necessary resources, I'd like to reflect on the impact this has on the impact of these implemented strategies. And then I'll move on to reflecting on the need for continuous improvement and research and on new technologies, but also reflect on what educators can gain. So students become more confident in their presentation skills through targeted interventions and structured practice. By addressing these challenges, we have more engaged and participatory classroom environments. We receive also positive feedback from students who have benefited from these resources and strategies. And I'm sure that we've become witnesses of students' transformative experiences. But what's important is that I'd like to emphasize, rather, the importance of continuously evaluating and refining our teaching methods based on student early feedback and outcomes. And it's important also to look into potential future resources or technologies that could further aid in developing presentation skills, such as virtual reality for public speaking practice. One such example that I found in Inside Higher Ed 2023 by Mo Reader, he discusses a pilot program at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, that uses virtual reality headsets to help students have a virtual audience, refine their speaking skills and presentation ability. But I don't want us to actually put aside also the importance of collaborative learning. We need to be able to create opportunities for peer-to-peer learning and collaborative projects that can enhance students' presentation experiences. So by reflecting on these areas, we can better understand the profound impact that targeted teaching strategies can have on our students. Moreover, it encourages us to become adaptive and forward-thinking in our approach, and it assists us in guiding our students to reflect on their strengths and weaknesses, and we're able to offer students the tools to do so. At the end of the day, we help students foster a mindset of continuous learning, unlearning, and relearning, as Alvin Toffler wisely advised. And at the end of the day, to learn without thinking is reckless. To think without learning is dangerous. Thank you.